country we must have regard. Forget all your differences, let we start to build. And onward to progress we surely will. Because now, more than ever, we must show discipline, tolerance, and production to build a strong and better nation. I say that is the main foundation. So come let us work hand in hand, because this is our land. Come my brother, come my sister, and let us build a nation together. So much of things that we need to see about. Surely I do have to spell them out. Cause you know as well as I do, the only way is put in more effort and less play. Because now, more than ever, we must show discipline, tolerance, and production to build a strong and better nation. I say that is the main foundation. So come let us go hand in hand, because this is our land. Come my brother, come my sister, and let us build a nation together.
Come my brother, come my sister, and let us build a nation together. Come, let's work hand in hand, because this is our land. Let's make it better for our children and children. I want to welcome you to this segment. Again, I want to encourage those on Facebook and YouTube to please share the live. Sharing is caring. I want to start off this morning by saying the NNP is out there on their platforms making you believe that cost of living is bad and that things are not getting better. And they would say all manner of things because they want to get back into power. And they believe by talking about these things, some people are going to fall for it. They're going to believe that things are only high in terms of price of goods in Grenada and not anywhere else in the world. They would make you believe that we are producing milk, flour, rice, sugar, butter, oil, onions, Irish potato, ketchup, the whole list. They would make you believe that we are producing all of these things here and we can change the price to suit Grenada. They would make you believe that when they speak, especially Emlyn Pay. But when NNP was in power, they couldn't do anything to change the prices. They couldn't adjust it. So while some of the items was zero rated for VAT under NDC, under NNP, the price continues, or the prices continue to go up because we don't produce these things. We don't make these things. If you're producing it here, then maybe you could give concession, maybe you could, give incentives so that the price will go down. And many a times, the price would pretty much be fairly high, even if you're producing it here, because there are other costs to bear to produce something. But the NNP is out there just speaking openly, giving people the impression that this government is not doing anything about the cost of living. But that's not the case. That is not the case. I remember the NDC removing VAT on a number of items. I was looking for it earlier. They removed VAT on a number of items. I was looking in my archives for it because I wanted to make the point that the NDC removed VAT on a number of goods or items, but I have not been able to lay my hands on it. All right, I have not been able to lay my hands on it because I wanted to share that with you. Right, I have not been able to lay my hands on it, but I know a number of items they remove VAT on. So you listen to Emlyn Pear, and she's talking about the price of water, the price of sugar, and you laugh because at the end of the day, Nawasa has been doing a lot of upgrades on the system, changing pipes, because we have had decades upon decades old pipes being used. So they have been at work upgrading the system, building new storage tanks, right? Changing the old rusted pipes. So, and water has been very cheap in Grenada. Very, very cheap. So Emlyn Pear was on the platform again saying this.
Brothers and sisters, the NDC came into office in 2022 and they reversed all of these measures taken by the NNP to cushion the effects of the rising cost of living. But you know what was dangerous, brothers and sisters? What was unconscionable? The actions that I consider to be wicked was on top of removing those cushions that were provided, they added more pressure on the people. So they introduced a levy on water.
Right. So she talked about introducing a levy on water. All right. So Nawasa announced an increase in the water cost for both residential and commercial users. The cost for the first 1,000 gallons of water will rise from $8 to $19.28. An increase of right, so it rises from $8 to $19.25. But that's the cost for the first 1,000. I think it was an increase of what? $2 and some cents, $2.81, something like that. Additionally, users and that's for the commercial, the big companies, right? Big companies. The increase for users in the $30 bracket will be $5. So, the people who normally pay between $0 to $30 on a monthly basis, they would see a $5 increase. Those in the $60 bracket will see an increase of $10, right? $10. But besides that increase, the $5 increase or the $10 increase or the $2.81, I think I read the first one wrong. So the people who paying between $8 and $19.28, they will see an increase of $2.81. So that's the correction. I read it wrong from the Nawasa release. So let me say again, Emlyn Pear, she's talking about a levy on water and so on. Remember, Nawasa was using 100 years old pipes, 50 years old pipes. So they have to change them. Everywhere you turn, You see busted pipes. They have to change all of these things. They have to upgrade, and they are doing a lot of upgrades. So Nawasa increase the cost of water. So people who are paying between $8 and $19.28, they saw an increase of just $2.81. So if you're using water and you are paying between $8 and $19.28, anywhere between the $8 to $19.28, you would see an increase of $2.81. $2.81. All right? An increase in your bill. The people who are paying $30, right? So between the $30 bracket, so let's say between $19.28 to the $30 mark, they would see a $5 increase. All right? And from the $30 to the $60 bracket, just within that range, $5. They would see a $5 increase. And the people who using water and their bill will be $60 and over, they will see a $10 increase. So that is what happened, right? And Nawasa explained why they needed to increase the price of water. Because for more than 20 or 30 years, they never did so. And still, the price of water is the lowest in the sub-region. Nawasa's price of water is one of the lowest in the region. So a $5 increase for some, a $2.81 increase for some, and a $10 increase for some. All right? But very few people in Grenada will use water $60 and over a month. Very few people. And I know that. You wash, you cook, you do this, you do that, and still the price of water will be about 50 something dollars, 40 something dollars. I'm talking about the ordinary home with, a family of, let's say, 4 or 5. The price of water is not too expensive in Grenada. But Emlyn Pierre is on a platform talking this nonsense.
Brothers and sisters, the NDC came into office in 2022 and they reversed all of these measures taken by the NNP to cushion the effects of the rising cost of living. But you know what was dangerous, brothers and sisters?
And she's not being sincere. I was looking for the list of items that the government removed VAT on. I don't know if anybody has that list. I would love to share that. I was looking for it. I have it somewhere, but I have to kind of dig up to get it. All right? So I was looking for it, and I didn't manage to lay my hands on it. All right? I was looking for that list, the list of items. Right? There's a list of items zero rated. Right? Yeah, there's a list that the government announced. I was just looking for it. There was a list that they prepared. The government prepared that, and it was published. But I'm looking for it, but I'm not seeing it. That basket of goods. That there was a list prepared showing the items that, let me see, taxes and entry, information about businesses. VAT. I was looking for it, VAT and consumer right as part of the program of government to simplify and regularize tax system. VAT introducing. I was looking for it. I was looking for the zero rated. I right. So list of zero rated supplies. Good. So businesses with annual tax supplies in excess of are registered for VAT. Flour, brown sugar, rice. So I was looking for the items. There was a list of items that don't attract VAT. I had it somewhere about the place, but I'm not seeing it. All right. I had it there when the government announced that there would be zero VAT on a number of items, right? Zero VAT on a number of items. Oh, looking for that. Um, I was looking for that list, but I'm not lucky to find it. Oil, peas, and a number of other stuff. It was zero rated, right? Quite a number of items was zero rated. I just can't lay my hands on it. All right. But nevertheless, I people know. I am certain there are people out here who can, you know, say what I am actually looking for, talking about is factual. All right. Is factual. So the government listed, I remember there was a list of exemptions. Waive on this, waive on that. I remember that. And then they announced the tax amnesty, right? There was tax amnesty and other things like that. So I'm looking for the items in the budget statement, but I have not been able to locate it. It's a whole list. It's a whole list of stuff that were exempted. So what this woman is saying is not factual. And it remains so up to this day. The items remain zero rated. Zero rated. I just can't lay my hands on them. All right. But they provided some incentives. The government provided some incentives where, some of the items that come in, they do not attract VAT. They do not attract VAT. So I was looking for it, but not able to lay my hands on it. But maybe somebody out there will be able to maybe share it with me and I will be able to explain. But I was looking for it. But I think I have it somewhere there in my archive. But at the end of the day, folks, the government did a lot to ease up the burden on people, on our Grenadian people, in terms of the items on the shelves, to ease up that. And they prepared that list, and Grenadians enjoyed it because while things were going up, the prices of those goods never attracted VAT or taxes like that. So water is fairly cheap in Grenada. Water is fairly cheap in Grenada. When you check it out, you will realize that you're paying a reasonable amount for water. All right? So people who normally pay between $8 and $19.28, they saw an increase of $2.81 on their water bill. People paying between that price and let's say $59, they saw a $5 increase, right? So between the $20 mark and $59, a $5 increase. And most people fall within that bracket, all right? Most people fell within that bracket. So I mean, it's just nonsense this woman is talking about.
Brothers and sisters, the NDC came into office in 2022 and they reversed all of these measures taken by the NNP to cushion the effects of the rising cost of living. But you know what was dangerous, brothers and sisters? What was unconscionable? The actions that I consider to be wicked was on top of removing those cushions that were provided, they added more pressure on the people. So they introduced a levy on water. They added VAT on sugar.
Right. So I dealt with the water aspect already based on what she said. I rebutted that by saying to you, Nawasa, for decades, have not increased the price of water or have not placed any increase on the price of water. But they have to maintain the system. They have to change pipes. They have to provide storage during the dry season and that kind of thing. So they need the resources to do that, to upgrade, to modernize, so we can get clean drinking water. They announced an increase of $2.81 for people using water and paying between $8 and let's say $20 within that little space. $2.81 increase. The people between that space and say $59, they would pay $5 more. An increase of $5 on their bill every month, right? And the people above that would pay $10 increase. So it's not too much to see Nawasa upgrade the system. Look at the amount of pipes they are changing so we can get clean drinking water. So making a noise about that, it's a big joke in my view when you want clean drinking water in your house. There was a time a friend who worked at Nawasa cut a piece of pipe while working, and he showed me inside of that pipe. I mean, you talk about corrosion, you talk about rust. You could hardly see where the water passing through in that pipe, you know. But that was pipes they were changing. So you have to change the pipes so people can have clean drinking water. And it costs money. So an increase of $2.81 or $5, come on. She would go on a platform and talk about that. But not only that, you know, they were in power and they never saw the need to increase the price of water by just a little bit, by $2 or $5, so that Nawasa could change the pipes so that people can get healthier, cleaner, and better drinking water. There was a time people were saying, with all the cancer cases that we were hearing about, so many people dying from cancer, they were calling on the government to look into the water that we drink. There was a point in time when that was the case, right? Because we had age-old pipes using to channel water to homes, to supply homes with water. And people were wondering, well, how is it that Grenada has this high rate of cancer? And so many people coming out with cancer. Why not look into the water and the pipes? Because, you know, over the years, using the same old pipes, it can cause people to be sick. But I saw with my own eyes, you know, just a cut piece of pipe that the gentleman, you know, he cut piece and he showed me. Inside of that pipe, you think easy? With the chlorine that they're using, boy, inside of those pipes. So imagine using pipes 50 years old and 40 years old. Imagine inside of those pipes. So Nawasa had to upgrade. Nawasa had to do certain stuff to enhance their supply and to make water safer for people to drink. Then she spoke about the price of sugar, increasing the price of sugar. Remember, the government announced that too many people are using a lot of sugar, sugary stuff. They also announced measures for the schools to cut all these box drinks and all this sugary stuff, right? To cut it out because it was putting pressure on the health care system. A lot of people were coming down with diabetes and all different things. Because why? They were using too much sugar. And as a deterrent, the government was trying to encourage people to eat healthier, to use less sugar, and to use less salt. I never forget that. And they announced that there would be a little increase on the price of sugar as a deterrent to encourage people to use less sugar. We have honey here, right? And you don't have to use plenty sugar. You don't. I don't use sugar. I am drinking bush tea, right? Bush tea here. And I don't use sugar. Why you need to use sugar in tea for? Bush tea, for example, or the local hubs. Why you need to use sugar for? There are other ways to cook food. You don't have to always stew meat, stew meat. You have some people every day stew meat, stew meat, stew meat is sweet meat. Or pelau, 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 stew, sweet, sweet, sweet. Just sweet, everything sweet. And then the children start developing that sweet habit that everything they want must be sweet. And as people say, once it's sweet, it ain't good. People with sense and who knows about food, once it's sweet, it's not good, especially when it's too sweet. So sugar is not good for our health. And then they complain about the healthcare system. And so many people go in there and then they coming out with no toes, right? No foot. They cutting, cutting, cutting because they're coming down with diabetes and so on. Hypertension, diabetes, pressure, all kind of complications. So the government is on the right track to encourage people not to use plenty sugar. I may have brown sugar there or white sugar, but I don't use it as often as, right? I don't have the need to use sugar like this. And then the NNP came on and say, well, they put increased price on sugar, and most people use sugar if they don't have other things to make tea. They use it as sweet water. You know, they're talking to their supporters who in this day and age still use sweet water. You have so much hubs in Grenada. You can take a sauce-up leaf and make tea. You can take sugar dish and make tea. You can take lemongrass and make tea. You can take the big thyme, as we call it, and make tea. You can take clove and make tea, cinnamon and make tea, right? And there are so many other herbs you can use to make tea. A lot. You have mint, you have, just name it. You have ginger. You can make tea and you can flavor it up with, even if you put in a little sugar, right? But to say that people drinking sweet water, NNP is talking about that in this day and age, that people drinking sweet water. And they're talking to their supporters. Sweet water is like hot water and you put sugar in it and you sweeten it and you drink it. Right? That is what they're talking about. So I'm saying again, right, lime pill, the leaf, lime leaf, and there's so many things you can make tea with. Mobby back, well, that's juice or mobby. But I'm saying there are so many things that you can use, right? But to talk about in this day and age, sweet water, and the NNP's on their platform talking about that, sweet water tea. Like you just put sugar and hot water in your drink. That is what they're talking about in this day and age, talking to their supporters and saying, well, the government increase the price on sugar, but not by much. Not by much. Because if you go to the store and you buy a pound of sugar, it's still fairly low in terms of cost. I don't know what it is now because I haven't bought sugar in a very long time. But a pound of sugar will be about $4 or $5, or maybe even less. People who buy sugar might be able to say, right? But I don't know the price of a pound of sugar. But these things are what the NNPs on a platform in this day and age talking about, right? So my good friend Sawandi Sam sent me a list of, yeah, because I remember there was a list of items that was zero rated by government, right? So soya chunks, veggie pates, olive oil, canola oil, soybean oil, flour oil, coconut oil, kidney beans, black beans, black eyed peas, lentil peas, hand sanitizer, adult pampers, baby pampers, toothpaste, toilet paper. He sent me some more here. Let me see. Right. Fresh, chilled, or frozen vegetables, agriculture tools, printed school books and newspapers, these kind of things. But I'm talking about I was talking about the food items, right? The food items. I think I saw someone post something here. He's a very resourceful person, Someone Sam, right? He said baby pampers, toothpaste, toilet paper, sanitary napkins, uh, right? Bathing and laundry soap, and so on. Yeah. So I remember the government announced that these items will be zero rated. Zero rated. We don't produce it here, but they would not attract any tax, any VAT once they come in, right? Once they come in. So thank you, Sawandi Sam, there for that. Very resourceful gentleman. Very resourceful. So I'm saying all of this because this woman believes that she can fool Grenadians. Emlyn Pay does not have what it takes to lead Grenada. No, she doesn't have the intelligence or the intellect. She's not smart. In 2025, to go on a platform and talking about the price of sugar. Come on, sugar. Sugar is fairly reasonable in the scheme of things in Grenada, the price of sugar. But try to encourage your supporters not to use plenty sugar. Sugar and salt is not good for anybody. You can use a little, but to say use it often, it can't be good. It cannot be healthy. And we need to try to encourage our children to use the herb that we have here in Grenada, right? And not use sugar in it. You don't have to be sweet to enjoy it. Once you know the value of it, look, I'm drinking the big time right here with some lemongrass. Tasting good. No sugar. I would drink coffee and I would not put sugar in it. Black coffee, and it's all cool because I know that sugar is not good for my health. I know I don't need to put plenty salt in food. I know that. So we have to try to educate our people instead of gaslighting certain things or making people believe the government is so bad because they put a 10 cents or a 50 cents on a pound of sugar, and they're encouraging people not to consume plenty sugar and salt and so on because it can lead to other complications, other ailments or sickness and so on, and it will put a burden on the healthcare system because you go in with your 2 feet and you come out missing one, or you're missing toes, and the minute time they start cutting you, well, you're in problems. So instead of doing that, you go in on a platform and talk about increasing sugar and water. Water is cheap. Water is fairly cheap in Grenada, right? My neighbor, told me that her water bill is 50 something dollars, 40 something dollars. She uses a washing machine too, right? She mops, she do the normal stuff, wash, wears, and normal thing. And it's still 40 something dollars and 50 something dollars. It is fairly cheap, fairly reasonable. So to come and make people believe that this thing is, expensive and it's this and it's that. Come on. And you want Nawasa to always be upgrading the system, upgrading the grid, changing pipes, putting new pipes in certain areas. Because the pipes that we are using, they're 50 years old, right? 60 years old, 70 years old pipes. You want them to change the pipes and modernize, but they need resources to do that. So sometimes you go on a platform and you want to make your supporters happy or make them believe what you're saying makes sense. But when simple people listen to the rubbish that you are saying, then they say, but wait, come on. Nawasa, water in Grenada is fairly cheap. It is fairly cheap. And hear this, folks, you have a house. You can do rainwater harvesting. I don't believe in 2025 a person with knowledge would see, for example, this morning, a lot of rain fell earlier this morning. All that rain falling. You can harvest the water. You buy the big, 1,000 gallons water tank, 1,000 gallon water tank, or you build a cistern, or you harvest the water. So you can use that water for washing your wares, use that water for washing your laundry, use that water for flushing your toilets, use that water for wetting your plants or for washing your driveway. You can use that water for that purpose. And then you can use the pipe water for other things, maybe for cooking or whatever. So, and you can use rainwater once you treat it properly. In this day and age, you have the Sahara dust and other things affecting our environment, our air. So when the rain falls, then you get particles coming down and that kind of thing. But I'm saying we have to be smart as a people. We have to be smart as a people. Even electricity. In this day and age, solar left, right, and center. You can set up a solar today and power your 5 lights outside, your outside lights that you leave on all night as security, and these days, for example, my cameras, they have lights on. So if a person comes close, the lights come on the cameras. So I don't need to put on my outside lights. I used to have all my outside lights here on. But because I have cameras now, even in the lights, I have cameras. But only if a person comes close, then the lights come on. And it captures the person. So there's no need for me to leave the lights on and pay additional cost for electricity. No. So that measures you can take. So instead of educating your people and letting them know certain things that they can do to save on electricity cost or on water, when my children brushing their teeth, what I do, I tell them straight out, cut off the pipe, use a cup, put the water in the cup, brush your teeth, right? Scrub your tongue, do what you have to do, and then wash out your mouth. And you save on water. It's simple like that. You're bathing. You don't need to leave the pipe on while you soaping down or soaping up or whatever you call it. No, there are people with that habit. So the water is running and you're soaping down or soaping up. No, you cut it off, soap out, right? You scrub your skin, you have your rag or you have your this net like plastic thing, you know, and you scrub your skin down, and then you wet down, scrub with the soap and whatever, and then you wash out your body. That is what you do. So you save on water. You're washing ways. You don't leave the pipe running. You fool maybe a container or a bucket or whatever. You fool that with water. You wash, or you lock your sink. Put the cover in the sink. You cover it. You wash your wares, wash them, and then you rinse them. But you don't leave the water running, and for every piece you have to put it under the pipe, and then after a while so that's how you pay a lot for water. These things are common sense. So instead of teaching their supporters how to save on water and save on electricity, they're talking this nonsense about Nawasa increase their price of water by just $2.81 and $5. Right? Come on. The people in the $10 bracket are really residential and, people who doing commercial and residential, meaning that they have a big property and a lot of people living there. So to talk this nonsense. But you see, the NNP, they're not helping their people. They're not empowering their people. They're not showing them the right way to do things. They're not. But we have to try to educate them and empower them. And then when they see the NNP, they're going to just laugh at them. When they hear the NNP talking this nonsense, they're going to just laugh. In 2025, you're talking about price of sugar. And if you go to the store, I don't know what the price is, but I want to assume a pound of sugar is still under $5. If not $5, under $5. I want to believe so. I stand to be corrected. Maybe somebody could tell me what the price of a pound of sugar is. But I don't use sugar like that. Right? For months, 1 pound of sugar will remain here for months. Because I prefer to eat curry meat than stew meat. I prefer to eat baked meat than stew meat. I prefer to eat steamed meat than stew meat. I prefer to eat grilled meat than stew meat. That's just me. Because I understand this sweet thing, not good. So maybe somebody could tell me what's the price of a pound of sugar. Because I don't know. I don't know. I haven't bought sugar in a long time. All right? So somebody out there, just checking the phone to see. Maybe somebody out there who knows what the price is. Maybe they could, hit me up with it. But I don't know. Somebody say, hey, Kem, it's $3. So a pound of sugar, as Evelyn Pay, my good friend, up on the western side, she has a shop. Right, so Evelyn, she has a shop in Maricot. She's saying that a pound of sugar is $3. That is what Evelyn Pay is on a platform screaming about as though she's in labor. That's what she's talking about, $3. So maybe some sense was added to a pound of sugar, 10 cents or 5 cents or so added to the pound. And she goes on a platform opening her big mouth, and somebody saying brown sugar is $2.50 by me. That's another person, Regina Murray, right? Vinita Regis is saying, that's Vinita in Pomerose. She's saying, Kem, 2 pounds of sugar is $5, right? You understand the point? Little money for a pound of sugar. But Emlyn pays on the platform.
Brothers and sisters, the NDC came into office in 2022, and they reversed all of these measures taken by the NNP to cushion the effects of the rising cost of living. But you know what was dangerous, brothers and sisters? What was unconscionable? The actions that I consider to be wicked was on top of removing those cushions that were provided, they added more pressure on the people. So they introduced a levy on water. They added VAT on sugar. Brothers and sisters, what a government that says it is concerned about poor people.
Right. And that's the kind of rhetoric you hear from Emlyn Pay on the platform. And if you go back, because the facts are there, you don't need to search too much. The facts are there. So Nawasa, for 2 decades or so, they never increase on the price of water. But we were using, or Nawasa was supplying people with water from aged old pipes. I mean, the pipes, they are 30 and 40 and 50 years old. And if you see inside of it, you would want new pipes to supply you with water. So Nawasa has always been laying new pipes and upgrading and improving the network of pipes. But it cost a lot, millions and millions of dollars. So Nawasa had to put a little increase on the price of water. And most people are paying just $5 more for water. Most people in Grenada, not $10. So most people pay the $2.81 or the $5 increase. And that's about it, because we don't use plenty water like that. And water is fairly cheap in Grenada. So for Emlyn Pierre to be on a platform talking this bull, talking this nonsense, right? I mean, it's ridiculous to say the least. And then she's talking about sugar. You want to encourage your supporters to use sugar? In 2025, you hear doctors encouraging people to lessen on their sugar intake because they see what it's doing to them when they get a little older. They're losing their toes, their legs, their foot, everything. So the NNP should be encouraging people to use less sugar. Why not encourage your supporters and educate your supporters? So that's the kind of nonsense that this woman is speaking, and she wants to be prime minister of this place and leader of what? Grenadians are smarter. Grenadians are brighter. You can't fool Grenadians with this kind of rhetoric and stuff again. No. Right, so somebody saying Nawasa last increase on bills was in 2019, right? But it's sad to see that in this day and age, Emlyn Pay is talking about sugar and water when water is fairly cheap in Grenada. And when doctors are asking people to use it because it can have dangerous effect, not just damaging, but dangerous effect on your health. Folks, I want to wish you all the best. Have a wonderful day. I will be back with you tonight in the hub, God's willing, starting from 8